Hi guys, this is our reading video for Thursday. It's our practice apply of the text that we analysed and read through on Monday. The Tide Rises, the Tide Falls, a poem by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow even. You will notice we've got our questions down here. On the next slide you can type your answers. It was just a bit tricky to put it all on one slide. In terms of me writing the answers, I might do a few on this slide and then delete them so I'm not flicking backwards and forwards because that would be very annoying. So, have a little, grab your work from Monday, have a look what you've analysed, that will really help. And I'm just going to go through what we're doing today with these questions. So, we're making plausible inference. Oh, I forgot to put our metamate on. there is Dr. Deduction. We need to make plausible inferences with what we've read. And remember, for the 1 billionth time, I think this because. Okay, you need to explain why you think this. Okay, so think about the question, which ones need you to explain why. I'm looking and it says, that first one says explains. That's going to say, you're going to need to say, I think this because. This one says, what do you think? Well, I think this because. Why might the traveller hasten towards town? That one might not need one. Okay, but you cannot have one or two word answers for all of these. Okay, so let's have a look. Number one. Why does every verse end with the repeating line, the tide rises, the tide falls? Now, this really is a little bit of inference in terms of what the poem's talking about. It's really more about the knowledge of what the tide is. So, I think the reason the tide, the reason that it's repeated is because that's exactly what the tide does. It doesn't stop. So, I think it will be, and the tide rises, the tide falls, repeats at the end of every verse because it doesn't matter what happens, the tide rises and the tide falls. That is something that happens all the time, every day. So he's repeated it at the end of every verse, showing you that it continues to happen. We cannot stop it. Okay. Number two. I alluded to this one in our analysing on Monday. Explain what you think each verse represents, and it's to do with the time of day. So this one's twilight, this one's darkness, and this one's the morning. So you just need to put V1 for verse 1. I think this is night falling because it talks about twilight arriving. Verse 2, I think it's the middle of the night because darkness has settled. Verse 3, I think it's the breaking of dawn because it says the morning breaks and the animals awake. Something like that. So you just need a line for each one with a because. You'll notice I'm not writing all these down. The last thing you want to be doing is watching me write answers down. Okay, this really is more of a check your answers kind of discussion. But we'll also have a look at it in our sessions as well. Number 3. Why might the traveller hasten towards town? Now, you might not have known what hasten means. Hasten means to do something quickly. You might have heard people say, we need to do this with haste. And hasten means with pace, to rush. And where is it? Oh, here we go. It's this line here. So, reading the verse, the twilight darkens, it calls, along the sea sands damp and brown, the traveller hastens towards town. So, I think this one, the traveller is walking along the beach, and darkness is falling, so the tide is coming in. I think that because it says the sea is damp and brown, the sea sand, sorry, so the sand is getting damp, and it's getting dark. There you go. Use what's in the verse. And obviously you'll word that in different ways. But he's definitely running back towards town because it's getting dark and the tide's coming in. Because otherwise, the sea sand's damp and brown. Well, they'd be damp and brown because the sand's getting wet. Think about when you've been to the beach. You see a line normally, don't you, of darker sand where the water's been. Number 4. What do you think the line "efface the footprints in the sand" mean? So, efface was another word that you might have found out in Acquire a Fine. If not, though, The little waves efface the footprints in the sand. I'm going to have a guess that it means to rub out, or to hide, or to get rid of. That's my inference, because I know that when the waves run their soft white hands over the footprints in the sand, it fills them in. It disappears, doesn't it? So I'd be interested to know how you explain that one. But that one will be interesting. And I've kind of talked about this. What are the soft white hands of the waves? Well, it's the crest of the wave. So when you get a wave with a bit more power, the water at the crest of the wave, at the top of the wave, starts to fall down, doesn't it? And it's that foam that's made. So the soft white hands is the crest of the wave, the foam bits of the wave. And I quite like it. So it's almost like the hands are kind of rubbing the sand clean. I quite like that idea that the hands are coming in and out, constantly trying to kind of like smooth the sand. So, hope you did well with that. I'm looking forward to reading your answers for this one. Short text, but doesn't mean short answers. Hopefully this has really got you thinking. I look forward to seeing your answers, guys. Well done.